What's going on, folks, and welcome back to the party. With the next announcement of pre-alpha, it's definitely going to be a great day of news, but before we get started, I'd like to tell you a little story. When I was a kid, I always dreamed of becoming a game designer. I had this idea that I would create my own MMORPG with action-style combat like Gothic or Fable, a world as vast and open as Oblivion, and the graphical quality of some of the highest definition games that were available at the time. Of course, I'd have more up-to-date choices for all of this now, but the point is, I never really had the resources to make this dream into a reality. I remember when high school rolled around, I was able to take a trip to the Art Institute, and the two things I remember the most were first, how awesome it was seeing Alienware computers in their classrooms since they were all the rage at the time, and the second was how insanely high the tuition cost was for trying to pursue a profession in this field. But in this day and age, things are different. We have more resources at our fingertips and more places we can actually gain the knowledge to accomplish dreams like this. And this video's sponsor, Southern New Hampshire University, and their game development program is a low-cost, worthwhile option for doing just that. SNHU has one of the largest accredited, non-profit, online degree offerings in the country. These courses are taught by industry experts who will teach you how to research and contribute to advances/trends within the field of game programming. We'll get our hands on tools that let us create realistic and dynamic experiences with game AI, game physics, 2D and 3D graphics, and interface design. Plus, not only do we get the opportunity to learn computer programming languages like C++, C#, and Java, but we also get hands-on experience with 3D modeling and texturing with game art software. I'm passionate about partnering with the sponsor because this is something I would and will be diving into myself. Commissioning animations for videos can prove to be a costly endeavor, and I previously looked at ways on how I could dive into learning this myself but had no idea where to start. For me, this could be a first big step on the road towards improving my content and other projects I'd love to pursue, like developing movies or trailers for games I'm covering by using the Unreal Engine, which just so happens to be one of the tools SNHU provides us with. Highly recommend checking this out, and please visit snhu.edu/sirmedieval to see what the current average annual salary is for a programmer and to request free information about their game development initiative. Link in the description, and with that, let's get back to the video. We got ourselves a bit of news to cover in relation to this month's official newsletter. Alpha tracker wise, there isn't much of an update, but that's likely due to the team preparing this double shot of pre-alpha sessions they brought to our doorstep. As mentioned in the previous quick video, on December 3rd, this Saturday, Visionary Realms will be hosting a full 24-hour test for the pre-alpha testers, with the Co-Carnage stream and second test beginning on December 10th, with this being subject to change. The 24-hour test on the 3rd will be beginning around 10 AM Pacific Standard Time, and the main goals of testing are going to be centered around observing the server and client performance. Beyond this, they made a list of what we'll be digging into specifically during the pre-alpha test: classes and combat, itemization, new vendors, new and unique quest lines, art updates, a new dungeon that we can begin exploring around level 5, and a healthy dose of additional aspects to discover. I'm noticing they didn't include a confirmation for the warrior class being introduced this PA session, but they did say classes and combat would be part of what we'll be diving into, so maybe they're just leaving that up for a surprise. In regards to what's on the calendar for this month, we have ourselves the pre-alpha test session from the 3rd to the 4th, VIP only bring out your devs on the 8th to get to know lead writer Jay and Gerhardt, also known as the lore writer, which I'm super bummed that I can't attend this one because I haven't stopped being a filthy casual and dropped the last $250 to become a full VIP yet. Co-Carnage livestream scheduled for the 10th, but is tentative, so is listed on the calendar as TBA, and the December newsletter on the 22nd, which is certainly going to have its work cut out for it for topping this month's newsletter, considering pre-alpha is the best Christmas present we could have received. And for my favorite part of the producer's letter, we have the alpha tracker. As you folks already know, we're skipping over that which hasn't had any updates in favor of those that have. Starting us off with the classes and combat, the only update for this month is the continuation of balance passes and the review of ability acquisition placements, which I assume is talking about reviewing which levels we get these skills and seeing if they need to be tweaked. For network overhaul, we've seen no change, so we'll be skipping over that one on down to the improved starting experience for players. For this update, they've implemented the first pass of early level dungeon environments in Thronefast, which is designed to support a robust grouping experience with a lower barrier to entry. Now surprisingly, we've already reached the art section as far as the updated topics go, and as always, we'll be starting it off with the zones. When I started reading through this section specifically, it started to make a bit more sense as to why others haven't seen much update. To start with this month, they've been working on some visual polish for ongoing points of interest in Thronefast, in addition to doing a full-on overhaul for the layout of the city. This includes things like gates, bridges, walls, towers, and other structural elements to closer match concept art and the aesthetic standards. Right here is where I can imagine a lot of the effort being pumped into if they had to revamp each and every piece of the entire city itself. But alongside that, they also reported new custom grass and terrain textures / flora created for implementation into the Thronefast biome. Dynamic cave and subterranean lighting has been implemented, which does have me a little excited because I've grown to really love that cave lit glow that some games are able to deliver when done right. Both that and similar lighting scenarios to the Wicked Eyes, Wicked Hearts quest and Dragon Age Inquisition are definitely my graphical love languages. Following this, we have the implementation of the first pass of a lower level dungeon environment in Thronefast, and significant performance gains have been achieved by completing their texture streaming process to convert existing ones for objects and terrain into being streamable. For player modeling and animations, which are the two last sections to see updates in this tracker post, we first have player models with some more updates to the Dark Myr. Work is currently ongoing to finalize the materials and textures for this race's models, and work has also begun on the initial hairstyles for newer models in the game. And for animations, they've successfully completed the skinning and rigging for the Dark Myr male. But in addition to this, I wanted to take some time to talk about the latest livestream Visionary Realms hosted on their Twitch channel in regards to the quote-unquote Pantheon difference. So Pantheon Rise of the Fallen is not classified as a casual game. It's a hardcore one with plenty of challenge, reminiscent of the late 1990s and early 2000 MMORPGs such as EQ, Vanguard, Final Fantasy XI, etc. But that doesn't mean you need to be online all day every day to succeed. The Pantheon differences are essentially aspects or tenets of Pantheon that allow for the game to deliver a unique experience that sets itself apart from others. These would include things like fractures, which can be classified as tears or disruptions in the various manas and energies that make up the unseen fabric of Terminus. We could come across ones in an area that can be completely enchanted with darkness, ones with silence that would prevent spoken spells from working, poison and miasma. On the climate side, we might come across an area that's frigid and could cause a visible fog and frost around the edges of our screen, or even a pressurized effect that pops up when we get to the deepest of depths. They're aiming for this to be a very cinematic encounter, and the wiki even mentions having dynamic weather effects such as tornadoes traveling through certain zones that we as players have to avoid. Another unique feature we'll be coming across in Pantheon is known as the NPC Combat Tactics system. This is one of my most anticipated so far, along with the perception system, and essentially, this will allow for NPCs to dynamically change what they're doing during a fight. Some common examples of this would be NPCs being able to recognize when their allies are mesmerized and being able to break them out of that condition, or even being able to recognize what race, ability, or class is being used and being able to respond to that accordingly, or even leverage those things to their advantage. This also works in conjunction to a degree with the next one, which is NPC dispositions and traits. Some mobs might decide to stand their ground in a high-stakes situation or be more likely to flee, which in a game like this could cause a cascading effect of accidental aggro that will likely lead to your death. Some might be more fearful of fire or resistant to it, and these dispositions will cause NPCs that spawn with them to behave differently, respond differently, have different goals, etc. In other MMOs that employ similar systems, this might be called affixes, so if you're familiar with those, this might be the best example. An interesting disposition that Joppa spoke about during the live stream to give a better understanding of how it changes them is when he mentioned the Dark Foe disposition. This would cause the particular enemy to target light sources primarily and attempt to snuff them out, which will then lead to them gaining damage bonuses when shrouded in darkness. And for the trait system, this is more related to the bonus effect an enemy spawns with as opposed to how it might affect their behavior. They gave examples of ones like the Mana Drain trait, which would allow NPCs to drain mana on hit, the Radiant trait that would emit a magical light around it that could break stealth, interrupt invisibility effects, ones like that. And the next section they mention is something we've already discussed in a dedicated video, but this would be the perception system. This is one of the most unique systems in the game and is one that I think will end up being one of the most detailed and difficult to design. But essentially, the perception system allows you to analyze and discover more about your surroundings and the story as a whole than you might ever find as a regular character. It allows you to explore the world in a non-linear, more immersive way while rewarding you for doing so. This could include coming across secret passageways, hidden quest lines, untouched treasure. I highly recommend checking out the video I made related to it, as this will also talk about what it means to be a keeper, another unique system that Pantheon is offering. Some other features that would allow Pantheon to offer a more unique experience would be the progeny and mentoring systems. Progeny is something that will likely be post-launch, but the main thing mentioned during the stream for this system is that it will likely act as a vehicle for unlocking special race and class combinations. However, when I began reading about it on the wiki, it blew my mind that this is something planned for the game. To give an example, if you're familiar with the game Mabinogi, this is a good baseline reference to use when trying to understand this. Essentially, Progeny will allow you to quote-unquote retire your character character and create children as level 1 characters, but with certain advantages like abilities, stats, etc. that make them slightly yet noticeably better than a completely brand new character, but not to the point that it causes unbalance. The purpose of this is to both incentivize max level characters to cycle back to the lower levels to reduce saturation and monopolization of high level content, while also ensuring that there are more players spread throughout the world. But also, just like Joppa said during the stream, this will additionally let you unlock special race and class combinations, and if the wiki remains correct, this system will allow you to choose a few aspects of your main character to carry over, such as a trade skill. I feel like this is something that could end up being a powerful tool in promoting a healthy ecosystem across all stages of the game, but at the same time, it's such an ambitious feature that I hope it doesn't end up becoming a balancing nightmare, despite them saying that it shouldn't be. The system that goes semi hand in hand with this is the mentor system. Very similar to EverQuest 2, a high level can choose to de-level themselves down to a party member whenever they choose. This will allow players to group together without one being overpowered or minimizing content, and will likely act as a way for you to party with your friends without them being cut off from gaining experience or potentially rewards. The next two systems, situational gear and items that add to the Pantheon difference, are something we've already gone over in standalone videos such as Pantheon's progression system and the item system video I created. Pantheon intends to employ a different type of progression system than the one you would see in modern MMOs. This is one that would be classified as horizontal progression instead of vertical. Now there's many more topics we could dive into on how Pantheon aims to provide a unique experience. This would entail features like the faction system, reputation, limited action set, acclamation, Pantheon's forms of travel and mount system, which does involve taming. There's so much to unpack when it comes to this, but just like they mentioned in the stream, after the new year these will be featured more exclusively in solo deep dive discussions, so I too think it would be best to wait for those specifically. But hopefully this video gave you a baseline description of what to expect and how Pantheon does aim to set itself apart from MMOs. For now though, that's everything I wanted to unpack in this video. Don't forget to check out the sponsor, and as always, have a wonderful night or day folks. Farewell.
Just